Here we go. It's the Monday Club, and it is a very happy Monday Club. We have timed it to perfection. We didn't know if it was going to be announced at this time. We'll claim that we did. We are running a wee bit late, and that was just purely because we were waiting once we've seen the stock exchange sort of announced it. We didn't want to go live until Celtic had sort of confirmed it as well. Celtic have now confirmed that Brendan Rodgers has signed a 3-year deal at the club. Massive, not just for Celtic, I think in Scottish football terms, it just shows that we're in a good place right now, and being able to attract a manager with 2 fifth-place finishes, an 8th-place finish, an FA Cup, European semi-final, Community Shield, all in the last 3 or 4 years, definitely, sort of reinstates, just how big a deal the Celtic still are. It is a massive appointment. We will get stuck into that. We'll do all that good stuff very quickly. Do give us a wee like. We've had loads of live viewers recently in the shows, over 400 on one of the shows last week. We've had others as well. So yeah, by all means, make sure you give us a wee like, a wee share, a wee subscribe, slag my hair, all that good stuff. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many of you have, then by all means as well, make sure you if you want to, that's fine. All the content remains free. If you want to head over to our main sponsor, ED Pharmacy, then get down to them. There's the logo there and the QR code. Give it a wee scan. Use the code BUS10 at the checkout. Remember, they do same-day delivery if you're in Central Scotland area. 10% off erectile dysfunctional issues you may have, or if you're just a horny wee bastard. Steve, are you sitting in your seat today, mate? You got ants in your pants, son? Are you just excited?
No, I've been out and about, so I was kind of unsure if I was actually going to make it. So change of surroundings, just emergency flip up the laptop, make it happen in the kitchen.
Nice one. Connor, the announcement has been made. There was a wee bit of nerves creeping about. You're the world's worst for it, mate. You're fucking like a you over your emotions, mate. I don't know how you can keep up with yourself. And you're calling the group chat and go, I actually feel worried for him. You must be fucking like, I'm excited as anything. I'm shouting myself. There must be this. There must be that. You're fucking all over the shop. Well, it's done now, mate. The talking is over. The nerves are done. Brendan is back.
Oh, I'm so happy. There's no up and down with my emotions today. They will be going up and up and fucking up all day. I am so happy that this is finally just been announced and we all can just take a big deep breath in and just, sit back and let the good times roll again. Honestly, let's just keep going. Let's just, I feel so good. I feel so positive right now. Everybody should be feeling this way. Brendan's back, baby. Let's just keep going.
Stevo, the announcement's done. Initial reaction to Big Brendan. I know we've done about 4,372 shows over the last week promoting the return of Brendan. I think he was a lot of people's first choice. I don't think that's an after the event thing. I think he was the first choice for a lot of this. There was murmurings that Andrew, go get fucking Brendan then. Be ambitious. And that's what went and done. It's all real now. It's all signed. Opening press conference should be interesting.
Absolutely. No, in terms of reaction, happy. I'm not doing cartwheels. I'm not going to jump around like a Wayne. It's a good appointment. It's a very good appointment. I just look at it simply through the business eyes. And, I reflect on what he's done before. Fantastic. No question marks over Europe. But in terms of what was out there, what was available, certainly as you'll see, for the shows that I was on and doing, that I believe that he was the best option. So happy for it, but as I say, I like to just look at things with a level head and we'll take it as it comes. I'm expecting good things, but I'll take it as it comes. And I expect us to be getting more positives through the year. But I'm not going to get carried away because the buy-ins is foolish. Let's not be foolish. Let's enjoy it on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, season-to-season basis.
No, that seems absolutely fair. I don't know if Connor, can you see Stevo?
Yeah.
I don't know. The cameras are all weird at my end.
You're coming through a bit like staticky at bits, mate. I don't know if your Wi-Fi's playing up.
I have just changed it, so I don't know what's going on there. I can't see these. Just you carry on talking about how excited you are, Connor. I'll be back in 2.
I mean, I think me and you, Steve, are very much on opposite ends of the spectrum, whereas I'm buzzing, you're looking at it with a level head. And I think it's kind of what Bhoycie says is my emotions do tend to get me a bit overexcited or over negative when things don't necessarily go well. I'm either one or the other. I'm either a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of guy. But no, with Brendan, I think it is exciting. Obviously, we have a manager who I think a lot of people are maybe tricking themselves into thinking he's going to be as good as last time. He's in the same kind of headspace as what he would be when he first took over. But now it's going to be, I think, completely different. He's got a lot more experience now. He has a lot more contacts and a lot, just a lot of things that he has developed as himself as a coach that he can bring back to Celtic and that hopefully will aid us in moving forward to hopefully reach that next level with this 5-year plan that apparently he's got cooking away.
5-year plan on a 3-year contract?
Well, that's all that was getting rumoured, apparently, 5-year plan.
Well, that's the thing. I think there is a 5-year plan, Steve, and we spoke about this the other night. The reason there's a 5-year plan is because they're going to be smart about this. Listen to his football knowledge. Don't mean that all hinders, though, on him being there. He's going to give you what he thinks would be a realistic 5-year plan to get in European football. But I think, we need to have our eyes open on this occasion that he may well not be there to see out that 5-year plan. I think a 3-year deal is probably realistic on that one. One of the other interesting things I want to take from it, John Kennedy, we know, was a hinging factor. John Kennedy remaining at Celtic seemed to be what perhaps was one of the tougher aspects of the negotiations that Celtic had, not to convince Brendan to join, but to get Celtic into a space where they wanted to do the announcement. As I kind of said last week, I think they want all their ducks in a row before they announce them, which is absolutely fair enough, if that's how they want to do it. So they've announced the backroom team as well. It will be John Kennedy as the assistant manager. First team coaches, Stevie Woods, Gavin Strachan and Harry Kuehl. So he stays, and I think a lot of people expected him to go. And then you've got still the same B team coaches, Stephen McManus and Dan O'Day. So he's not came in like Eddie Howe wanted with all his merry men, all 30 of them. Brendan's working with John Kennedy, who he worked with before, but isn't necessarily a staple of Brendan's backroom team over the last 15 years in management. So obviously, that is his contact. Stevie Woods, you'll remember from his time before as well. So it's not unfamiliar faces, but I am a wee bit surprised he's not announced one of his own guys there as well. I think there's a lot of rumours about, is it Lyons and Driscoll? Maybe they will be announced in due course, but it seems to me that the reason they waited till the Monday was, I think, very much based on Kennedy staying. Again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I said last week, I think from a footballing point of view, it made absolute sense for Brendan to keep John Kennedy, someone who's that continuity factor and who'd worked with Brendan before as well, so he has his ear. Secondly, I think it's the first sign that when it comes to convincing and making compelling arguments on who to work with, it's very much Brendan 1, Ange Postecoglou 0.
Aye, I mean, he's wanted to keep Kennedy, and there's obviously a reason there. We said it before, he wanted to take him to Leicester, so if he wanted to take him there, he's going to want him still at Celtic. I'm not too overly concerned of no and other faces around at this moment in time. The reality would say that, let's be frank, that assistant management team have been there and been successful. There's no real reason why you need all your merry men around you, particularly domestically. I know that maybe sounds a bit flippant, it's maybe talking down the standard of the league, but you don't need 10 assistants, my opinion anyway, to get the job done in Scotland. So if he brings in one, maybe two guys as time goes down the line, then you know what, fair play, let's welcome it. I'd be more interested in seeing what he wants to do behind the scenes with all this sort of rumoured stuff of like a sports analysis member of staff at Lennoxtown and all that kind of stuff, which is not necessarily going to be somebody that you see at the forefront of the bench and things like that. If he wants to implement those things in behind the scenes members of staff, then I'm more interested in that than another assistant on the bench. But as you said rightly, he's got the man that he wanted to have. It's deprived Ange Postecoglou, and I'd also like to hear from Kennedy himself at some stage on it, because all the reports were saying that he wanted to go to Spurs. it'll be interesting to hear him address that and see if that's actually factually correct or where he was offered to go to Spurs.
That's true. I think it's been Ange being a wee bit naughty as well, because I would have guessed there would have been some sort of gentleman's agreement, shall we say, that thanks for the opportunity, let me speak to Spurs, I'm going to go, and look, I'll not be a dick and take like the backroom team like I came here alone. And then he's like, the first thing he's done is go, all right, John, happening. So I think that's a wee bit rascal behaviour. And I think it'd be remiss of us not to think John Kennedy's going to not want to speak to Spurs the same way. I mean, you and would want to speak to Spurs. But as I say, you go back to once you start speaking to Brendan, things can change. I think he's got definitely the powers. His wee tagline at the bottom is, let's get to work. I think you'll see a guy that first time around I think he could separate his business from pleasure, if you like, right, when he first took the job. And what's happened is, you're going to say something, Stevo.
Missed opportunity. You should have said, let's get down to business.
Aye, true. Let's get down to business. That is true. I think between like the emotion of it and work, he could separate the two. But I think his emotional stuff with Celtic probably played too big a part in how he came over. I think when that message, let's get to work, it's very much, it's going to be business, Brendan, this time. And it's like, let's, there'll be the odd fucking anecdote, I'm sure. And I'll probably lap it up because I'm an idiot. But the honest truth is, I feel that this time he's almost sending a wee message there, Connor, saying, look, we'll cut the bullshit this time. It's fucking, we're going to actually get this show on the road properly and do it. Just pure business. Let's go on with it. And I think that then you'll get the best possible version of Celtic as well. Whatever he says behind the scenes emotionally, he can do whatever he needs to get his players into a space where they're motivated, hyped up before games. That's fine. And I think there'll be the odd line that will go, been down this road before. But I think on the whole, I think he's going to be very much switched on. I also feel, Connor, he'll be hungrier this time around even than last time. He's fucking... There's certain characteristics people have. We talk often about, damn it, Desmond. Don't piss off Desmond or he'll make big decisions that'll give you a fright. I think when it comes to Brendan Rodgers, I think he was upset, pissed off. That after all the success he brought, the turn had been so much. So I think there's almost a wee bit of defiance in him going, I'll fucking come back. Just you watch me go. And again, maybe he's similar to Desmond. Don't piss the two of them off at the same time, Connor. You might just get fireworks.
Yeah. I see a lot of people praising the board for this appointment, and I don't understand why. I don't think it was the board's appointment necessarily. I think it was Desmond wanting Brendan back. It was Desmond wanted him the first time around. If the board had their way with this managerial appointment, it would have been your Enzo Maresca getting the job instead of Brendan Rodgers. The fact that this has all kind of happened in this kind of cacophony of madness, and it's benefited Celtic in a way because let's just say that Ange had told us previously and hadn't necessarily maybe agreed to stay on and another season and have all this, stuff heaped on him and all these, bigger finances, high-speed manager, blah, 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 blah. And then he slinked away to Tottenham at the first sniff. Desmond wouldn't have been so annoyed, I think. And he wouldn't have went and got his man. And the board would have just appointed Maresca and we would have been left with that. And God knows how that would have panned out. I guess we'll see how good a season Leicester have. And then that'll kind of give us a bit of an insight. But no, when you mess with the bull, you get the horns, is a phrase, or when you tickle Dermot's moustache, you'll kind of get a bit of a kickback. But it's really positive that, a lot of people give Dermot shit for not necessarily, pumping us fully mega millions because he's worth, I think, at least 2 billion and he doesn't get involved as much. But when it comes down to brass tacks and when we need something doing but kind of needs doing, I think Dermot kind of has a hold of the reins on this board and will say, no, he's only getting your way. We're getting my fucking guy in to kind of steer the ship and get in control of it. And Rodgers is, come in here with a lot of hunger, I think, obviously, coming off the back of a disappointing season at Leicester where he wasn't backed at all. He is now, if rumours are to be believed, being fully back to the hilt this summer with, plans for improving in Europe and a mega transfer budget, he'll be licking his lips, rubbing his hands, thinking, by the way, I can do a lot of damage with this. Yous were giving me, Marin Shveds and fucking Ibue Kawashis before. Imagine what I can do with getting some of my own guys in who I know can play and who I know these boys have got good potential. And see the boys who you think were really good under Ange, watch what I can do to them. Because if you can make Scott Brown and James Forrest play the best football of their lives, what the fuck do you think he's going to do to boys like Jota and Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo?
Well, I think that'll be one of the very interesting facets of his managerial tenure. I think we'll be seeing the improvement in some guys that we've really taken to over the last couple of years. We took to the manager as well. Let's not make any joke about it. I don't know if anyone's offended by the fact Loopy had said something about a kangaroo or something like that. If there was any offence caused, apologies. I didn't even read the comment, I just brought it up. As I tend to do, I just bring up comments. So, if anyone's offended by that sound, apologies. But with regards to Ange and the players, we did take to them. But also now, with a fresh start, I think it'll be interesting, Steve, to see what further development lies for the likes of, whether it be Abada, whether it be Jota, whether it be Matt O'Reilly's. People are talking about, could David Turnbull somehow fit into a Rodgers setup? I think Phil was saying yesterday, which is a great point. He said, there'll be one that we don't expect that will come to the forefront and actually, exceed expectations under the tutelage of Brendan. And I think that's very true. And I also take Connor's point as well. See, when he's came back to this, he's going to be motivated as well, because whatever his demands have been, and I don't think it would have been hard to sell, by the way, because I think he did want to come back on a personal note also at some point. This came sooner probably than expected for everyone, but I do think he wanted to come back. But what I will say is, when it comes to recruitment, he must have been given assurances that the people he brings in this time around, Stevo, will be better than the players that he was being afforded come that final summer.
Right. Well, when we were discussing managers, we brought him up. I'd say time and time again, I'm of the firm belief of it, that if we got in a manager who was quote-unquote marquee or a name, the likes of Rodgers or somebody like Potter or that, to me it would always suggest that we were going to be taking things serious. And by taking things serious, I'm not putting all that lean on Europe, because everybody puts that on it. And I take Europe as it comes, as I said the other day. Champions League, let's look at the draw first and then drop our expectations. Obviously, we wanted better players in the park with the potential, no matter what you get to do better. But I always thought that an appointment like Rodgers would suggest that we were going to be looking to spend proper money. We were going to look to level up how we perform as a club, whether that's what we put on the pitch, the general professionalism, what we do behind the scenes, infrastructure, the full shooting match. Because he came in with an idea first, and it was pretty clear as time dwindled on that his ambitions and his vision wasn't being matched with the board. For him to come in, it suggests that they have done a 180 on that, and they've given him assurances. So let's see what happens in terms of players coming in. But as I said as well, let's see what he can do with players that are already there and develop them and turn them into a better version of themselves. In order for him to succeed, obviously, he's the man that's pulling the strings. He's the guy taking the training. He's the guy putting out the teams. But what is important, and I still see it, even through comments here and, social media and what, it's important now for the fans, whether you like this guy, you're happy with how he left or not, is to get behind him. He is our manager now, and he needs support from all quarters, not just for the board, not just the buy-in for the players. He needs support for the stands. And I would like to see fans now act like grown-ups, put on their sense heads, and we always say, as long as somebody's in charge, get behind the manager. That should be no different. That should be no different for Brendan Rodgers. And I'm just calling to all fans to get behind them. Forget what went before, if you can. Treat it on a day-to-day basis, as I said. Don't get too ahead of yourself because you don't want to get hurt again. But just enjoy the ride and support it.
See,
I think it's going to bear fruit. There's no doubt.
I'm different from you because, see, at the end of the day, I think you've got to get emotionally involved as well. And this is why I held nothing, Connor, against Ange for doing fist pump. I think you need to do all that. You need to curry favour somehow as well. The slogan is, we're all in. And I think you need to kind of, you can't be overly reserved with this. You can't be too cautious. There also has to be that buy-in. There has to be that emotional pull. There has to be that sort of juggernaut feeling, or as Brendan called it, the Holy Trinity. When all the fans are on side, the board are on side, and the football operations all in the same, singing for the same hymn sheet. Boom, watch us go. So I do think there has to be a bit of a buy-in. I just think I bought into a lot of the Ange stuff. I thought he liked the fans, but I said the whole way through, I said, once bitten, twice shy. I'm not going to lose any sleep this time if he goes, and same applies for Brendan, but whilst he's here, I think it's important to still give that sort of level of emotional investment that we see. But interestingly enough, whilst that might be my view, it looks, Connor, judging by the live chat, that the North Curve have released a statement. I find all this stuff fucking tedious, if I'm honest. Statement o'clock from, supporter groups and stuff. I don't get it, but fair enough. Up to them. They have decided they're unpleased with the decision. They've decided to wait till 4 minutes after Celtic announce it to let us know their displeasure. Obviously, there's an ego thing there, I think, which is undeniable. They are the loudest section, though, of the support live at games. No two ways about it. If they are going to go down that road of, we've got our view, you've got yours, then are they putting themselves first before the club? Could they not act more responsible, being that loud voice, putting demands on for full Celtic end stands and things? Could they not be a wee bit more, let's get on board with this and take the mature option and go, what's done is done. It's the future going forward. Do they always, well, let's say always, they don't always have to, but do they have to take this different approach? And do they have to do that today? Do they have to be in contradiction with the good vibes? Does that really benefit anyone? Are the results not more important in the park? Have we got, nice one, Paul, have we not got the best possible candidate to get us the best results in the park? Is that not what we always wanted? See, at the end of the day, if there is going to be a toxicity at games during that, then I would say that would be really, really sad. I think if they wanted to release a wee statement and that's it, and it's just nipped in the bud at that, sound. But keep that other stuff away, because it is not going to happen. It's not going to help things happen, I should say, on the park if there's that toxicity at the grounds. And if it is going to become like that, and they're actually causing a divide, a split, well, do you know what? They're making a hell of a lot of noise and colour at the women's games. Plenty of seats there.
Aye, it's kind of like pissing me off now. Like, nobody's bigger than the football club, and at the end of the day, you support the football club and you support the product in the park more than you actually support the manager. So the most important thing is results in the park and the evolution of the club going forward. I don't see why bringing back a manager who gave us nothing but good times and success is such a controversial thing now, considering, as we've seen over the years, we know why he's left. There's been evidence to suggest why he's left, and it takes a real level of emotional maturity, which I don't think majority of the fucking members of the Green Brigade have, considering they're grown men cutting about in fucking tricolour balaclavas, pretending they're members of the IRA or the next Che Guevara. But no, to see that Rodgers moved on for a reason, to take his game to the next level and test himself in the best league in the world, if you want to put it that way. And it's the same thing that people in all walks of life do, whether you're a football manager or a fucking bin man. If you get a position offered to you for better money, better wages, better opportunities, you bite the hand off anybody. Wouldn't matter the loyalty that you have to that company. You would say, I'm sorry, but I need to move on because this offer can't be refused. And if they're going to cause this toxic atmosphere at the stadium, right, then it's fucking really annoying. Like, it's just a dampener. It's like going to put a dampener on the potential good season that we're going to have, and Brendan coming back, the new players coming in, the football we're going to see, all of it. It was, what was it, last season? It was over that the potential appointment of that security guy who was part of Peace Scotland. They were chucking tennis balls in the pitch, and there was a game against Livingston, I think Angie's first season. I think it was the first season where they didn't sing for majority of the game. That was the first time I ever seen you. I was going to come and say hi to you, but I was too shy. Anyway,
Please never say that again. For fuck's sake. Oh my God.
But I was a fan at the time. I was like, oh my God, that's Bhoycie. I was like,
Oh, fuck off. I'm actually getting a red neck. You just said that. Please never say that again.
no, and it created a weird fucking atmosphere, and you could tell it affected the players on the pitch because it wasn't a great game. I sure were against toughy opposition like Livingston, but against that Celtic team at Celtic Park, there should be no match for us. So I really can't be fucked with the Green Brigade acting all high and mighty as if they speak for all of the support when they clearly do not. How many people do you think are wanting to give up their seats so the Green Brigade can have a standing section? Not a lot of them. Do you know what I mean? They do a lot of good work. They do a lot for charity. That's, plain to see. But they cause a lot of fucking trouble as well. They sing fucking songs that shouldn't be sang in regards to diminishing our rivals. Horrible fucking songs that if we get our fucking knickers in a twist about them singing horrible shit about us, then we laugh at our support doing the same thing. Don't do that. It's hypocritical. It's stupid. Say it's not right. Do you know what I mean? It's really fucking grinding my gears because we've had this great announcement and now the Green Brigade are coming to say, aye, but we're not happy about this. You're like, who gives a fuck? Who are you to demand or put your feelings on the Celtic support saying this is the way they should be feeling and this is what's going to happen or the rest of it? Who do you think these are, honestly?
Well, I think before we go too far, though, Steve, I mean, I think they're entitled to their opinion, but I tend to be on the side that JP is right now. I say, if you're going to release a statement, we've all had pretty much a good idea of when this was going to be announced. Not when, sorry. We knew this was going to be announced. Where's the statement been last week to say we oppose that if it's going to be done? Why do it now? Because if they actually want to influence change, then because they are such a large support element of the support, surely they could have let their feelings be known in this statement last week, Stevo, and maybe given the board food for thought on that basis. Is that fair? Because I think by doing it now, it does lose a wee bit of credibility in my eyes. And that's not because I disagree with everything the Green Brigade stand for. Far from it. I'm looking at this as an isolated incident, this statement today. And for me, I look at it and go, it's just took up 6-7 minutes of this show talking about it, which tells you it's got the attention it deserves. But I do actually feel like the timing of it reeks a wee bit of look at us and isn't beneficial to the club. I think there's been more scope for them to have released this in the last 7 to 10 days that would have been beneficial if they were trying to influence change than to do it after the event and minutes after the event, which is clearly for maximum impact and clearly for attention to be thrust upon them.
Well, to quote a great man and Craig White, I couldn't care less. It makes no difference to my life whatsoever. Don't care.
Sound. Let's move on.
Do not care. It comes across as petulant. It comes across as divisive, and the timing is poor. I completely agree that if they were so discontented with the thought of him coming back, then wouldn't it be best to come out at an earlier stage, mast your flag and just say, boom, this is where we're at with it. They've obviously not, and everything that any supporters group do, not just the Green Brigade, it's strategic, it's planned out, and it's calculated. It's not just by chance, all right? And what I've said is, at the top of the show, what I've said in previous shows and what I'll say again is, it's important, in my opinion, for all fans to show a united front. As I said, whether you like the guy or not, is the key point, is to get behind the team and do what is best for the club, for the players on the pitch, and for everybody, and that is to show support. I look forward to an upside-down Brendan Rodgers face flag with a no sign over it. That'll show them. Know what I mean? They'll do as they do, but again, they pay their money, they go in, they watch the game, they're perfectly entitled to their opinion. We don't necessarily need to agree with it. It's not my cup of tea. As I said, in terms of Brendan Rodgers, I'd be first to admit, was I annoyed? Was I angry? Was I disappointed when he left? Absolutely. Did I ever think that I would come round to saying he should come back Initially, first year, probably not, but as time went on, as it says, you take off your emotional glasses. I'm not saying don't get invested emotionally. Football's a very emotional game. You know, we invest a lot of time, money and energy in supporting our club. We love it. And it is important to be emotional, but by what I'm saying is remove the emotional side of it. I'm just saying, try to look at it through what's, I hate the saying, best for business. What gives Celtic the best chance on the pitch? Best manager being provided the best tools to do it. And that's what everybody should be looking at it. Allow him to prove you wrong. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to come out and say, blah, 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 this, I hate him, I'm no this. Boo, Rodgers for the off, you're useless. So that if we drop a point, say, I told you. Let him prove you wrong. And I just hope that when we get fans back in the stadium, that there isn't negative connotations that bleed through onto the pitch. That's all I want to completely avoid. As I say, Green Brigade are perfectly entitled to their opinion, you know, and that's it. How the vast majority of fans feel about their take on it, I do not know. We don't speak for fans. We only give our own opinions. But I would hazard a guess at saying there'll be a high percentage of people who are of the opinion of saying that's not what we need right now.
Totally agree. Now, Conal O'Brien says, the Green Brigade are one of our best activist, moral and political communicators. Mention the football somewhere, please. This is a bit of an echo chamber. I back Brendan, but I can tolerate other supporters' opinions. I really disagree with that, Conal, because first of all, never an echo chamber on here. We often bring up many comments that disagree with us, and I'm always open to debating them. So I think an echo chamber is a wee bit much. In terms of this, we're looking at it. If you were listening, as I said, it's an isolated incident. We're talking about the statement. There's only 3 of us on here, and all 3 of us disagree with the timing of the statement. But I've all said they're absolutely fair to have those views. Absolutely their gift. I think if you wanted to influence change, though, you could have done it before the announcement. That's it, mate. So I appreciate you coming on, and that's why I brought up your comment, just to kind of prove that it's not an echo chamber, because I'm actually bringing up someone who disagrees with us, so that kind of flies in the face of that as well. We'll move on from the Green Brigade. 3-year deal, Connor. It's not a rolling contract like he originally signed when he joined in 2016. It's not a rolling contract that Ange signed 2 years ago. It's a 3-year deal. It's a commitment. I spoke about the assurances. Why do you think he's signed, or why do you think he's been offered a 3-year deal? Is this with a few things in mind? Because of the assurances that I was alluding to earlier, in terms of you're going to have more autonomy in the transfer market. We've seen Celtic will learn, by the way, as they go at times. And it's what an idiot is to me is someone who doesn't learn from when they make mistakes. That would be idiocy, right? And I believe that they're not going to be idiots. They're not in this position because they're idiots. Whilst I'm not always the board's biggest fan. But if you learn from your mistakes and you look at the template set by Ange in his first summer didn't have the Champions League money, but they still took the risk of giving him the autonomy in the transfer window with players he wanted. Now, whilst they were far lower valuations of players that maybe they went, well, we can afford to take a punt on this guy, do you know what I mean, because it doesn't cost as much. I still think they wouldn't have done that before. And I think that what they've learned in the last 2 years is let the football guy identify the football players, and then you do your best to go get them. And I think this time he's going to have far more sway based on the successes that Ange had, particularly in the first transfer window he came in, and I think the first January one as well. Connor's disappeared. Stevo, take it away. Don't know if you heard me.
Oh, he's back. There he is.
Sorry.
On you go, bro.
No, it's really important, obviously. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting things to change. So if we'd ran with the 12-month rolling contract, I feel like there would have been a lot of everybody would have been a bit of a knife's edge with regards to Brendan's future, and everybody would have been already like, oh, he's already ran out the door once. What happens if he has a good season, and then Aston Villa or Crystal Palace come in and ask him to come there? But no, the 3-year deal and giving him more of a say in the transfer dealings is something that is definitely going to be very, very beneficial for us. it's really important that we build on this position of strength, and I feel like that's what this appointment is, you know, it would have been very easy for the board to go back and appoint a Maresca and say, right, okay, we've just done a treble, we're in the Champions League, we can, you know, give this guy a chance. But no, a credit to them, you know, Dermot's went and got his man and moved forward with appointing who he thinks gives us the best chance to revolutionise and evolutionise this club to the next stage. So, you know, it's really a bright future I think we might have ahead of us. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because, as we know, some of Brendan's signings, whether they were his or not, you know, weren't the best. But I think with the added incentive of the Champions League being there, the money we're getting in from different areas, you know, and potential transfers, all the rest of it, all of these things come together and they're shaping this picture of the season that's to come, and it could be very, very positive. And just quickly, before we move on, obviously we're just a podcast, we're all mates on here, we just say our opinions and we say it as we are. If you don't agree with us, didn't like slag people's appearance and start saying their echo chambers and all the rest of it, because that's not necessarily what it is. And if you don't think folk are Celtic fans telling them to get their Celtic tools off because of a different opinion than yours, I'd suggest you take a look in the mirror.
Rock on, Connor, rock on, son. Anyway, Stevo,
Yes.
here's the other aspect of it that I think's fascinating and I think needs to be delved into a wee bit. And thanks to the person who commented about, you know, the abuse levels Rodgers took at that time as well. He's scrubbed that from his memory. He's forgiven, he's forgotten. This guy's meant to be on a year's sabbatical. There was someone on Twitter had said to me, and we always got on pretty well on Twitter, I think it was Spam Fritters he's called. Sounds delicious. And he was saying, you know, oh, well, he's maybe not as in demand as we think. How come he wasn't offered by Spurs or Palace? But the fact is, we don't know. But one thing he did make clear was he was taking the year out. So this guy decided to kibosh the year sabbatical because of the lure of Celtic. This guy's came back to Scotland only 4 years ago, in amongst a sea of abuse, as one of our viewers was saying a minute ago, to not just him, but family, banners that were pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think if you actually look at his Leicester City interviews, I know I was touching on this last week, he's got a chance now to prove that not everything I say is spin. And if you watch over that timeline of the 3.5, 4 years he was at Leicester, there's so many instances he refers to Celtic, and it's always in a glowing term. And someone put a wee montage of them up on Twitter earlier today. And when I was reading them, I was like, wow, that's actually quite mad, because by him coming back, kind of rings true what he's saying. Do you know what I mean? It actually looks like maybe when he left, he was taken aback by the level of hate. Maybe he's been honest though as well and said, I made a decision for my personal career. But I think a lot of the other stuff that he said about Celtic, if you actually look at the fact that he's decided to, as I say, disregard his year out just because the lure of the club was too much, maybe we should give him a wee bit of credit that he was telling the truth a few times more than, because he's almost became a parody of himself, that everything he says is spinning a lie. And I think sometimes that's really good banter, and then other times I think if you believe that, that's maybe a wee bit too much. Yes, we can be coy and we can look at things, as you rightfully say, through a level-headed prism when he speaks, right? And not just swallow everything up, you know what I mean? But notwithstanding that, when I looked at those interviews when he was in the Leicester City gig, he certainly didn't need to say the things he did about Celtic. And it certainly looks today like, actually, he's been proven that maybe there was a hell of a lot of truth in what he was saying there too.
Yeah, I mean, see if you break it down, right? Coming back, for me, takes a lot of balls, right? Now, people say it's just because it's ego and bravado, and if anybody would come back, it would be Brendan Rodgers, and I get all that, right? I totally get that. But if we break it down, let's be totally honest here. We don't know if he was offered any other jobs. We don't, and we probably won't know, is the reality of it. He was supposed to be taking a year out and came back. Was it because it completely the lure of Celtic? Maybe not. I believe he's going to get paid a very healthy wage to come back. I've looked at various takes on it. I was listening to Talk Sport this morning for my sons, and the question they were posing was it an easy option? Was it a return? And they were kind of split down the middle. And do I think it is an easy uptake to come back to Celtic? Well, if we are being completely honest, yeah, it is. For him, yep, it is. Celtic are a fantastic club. The club we love, massive, massive global club. But the standard of football and the team that's already there, he's coming into a very good team and he's been given more tools to do it. So, if you look at it in basic terms, is it an easy job to come into rather than say, I don't know, trying to get Leeds back up? Probably. But, as you've rightly said, there is a pull there. There'll be an allure of Celtic. If he's truly a Celtic fan, then of course he'll come back. He's got a great relationship with Dermot Desmond, and he's been promised all the tools. But not just that, I do believe part of him will be saying, right, this is an opportunity that's came maybe earlier than I would have expected to come back and right some wrongs. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. The business side and all the money and everything goes with it. And the level and knowing that he can do a good job. Also, that other side, which is proving opinions wrong, flipping people's opinions and atoning for his, misdemeanours his first time round and how he left. But in terms of him coming in, I think he wants to be there. And as you rightly said, I've watched back as well a lot of interviews, and whether it was his first interview when he was straight in the door at Leicester or 2 years down the line, anytime Celtic were brought up, he spoke in high regard. He reiterated this, I was a fan, grown up, blah, blah, blah. And even times when he was challenged, like, Leicester a bigger club? He's like, no. So he doesn't need to do that. Folk might say that's, fluffing the nest for future gain, but it doesn't need to do it. Because surely you could also just go down the route of time's a great healer. I've been away for years and he doesn't need to keep on saying positives about Celtic. So as I said, I think he's come back with the right intentions. Obviously been given the tools and the money, not as a nicety that goes with it. But I genuinely think he has invested in Celtic. He sees it as an opportunity to come back and he wants to right some wrongs. So you can't say fairer than that. People criticise him, but I think he's come back with the right intentions. And I think people need to give him the benefit of the doubt, as I say, to prove them wrong.
Our good friends at Full Times in a Podcast have said they're going to put our sponsor out of business. I think Loopy said the same. No Viagra needed ever again. You never know. Get to ED Pharmacy and find out for yourself. It might just take you to that even next level. The hard-on levels for Rodgers' return could go even further. You never know. Bus 10 at the checkout. Good to have the Full Times in a Podcast watching. No, top lads. Connor, now we need to have a wee look at the other connotations of this. We've not done this yet. Now, over the weekend, over the past week, I've seen a lot of posts. I've seen videos uploaded. I've seen people that know they're in a war they cannot win. I've seen people make absolute fools of themselves. There'll be a lot of retracting going on. You could say there might be a wee bit of deleting going on, Connor, when you make a plant pot of yourself. And when it comes to rivalry, or anyone that thinks they're playing the same sport as us, they'd be very mistaken. A few good results, a few good numbers. And sometimes your ego can get ahead of you. And sometimes it leads you to doing silly, silly things. Whether that be on any form of internet platform, social media, YouTube, any of them. What can sometimes happen, Connor, is you get a wee bit ahead of yourself. You get a wee bit callous. And you start posting silly things. Now, all I would say in the immortal words of Brendan Rodgers was, be careful what you wish for. And I think right now we are seeing, undeniably, a bit of squirming going on, to say the least. I mean that in more ways than one.
Yeah, is this my mastermind specialty subject, taking the piss at the Rangers? No, no, the thing I
didn't
will
know
say...
you didn't like Rangers, Connor.
I know. Just for the benefit of the doubt, let's just put this out there. I fucking hate Rangers, right? Let's just put that out there for everybody to know.
He's hyper out.
I'm only on the water. But yeah, the thing is, I think with them having this sort of a false dawn under Michael Beale is very telling. And there's this saying: there's only so many times you can polish a turd, but at the end of the day, it's still shite. So that's kind of what they are at the end of the day. And people are saying, "Oh, who was Brendan Rodgers playing against? Miles Bierman and Joey Barton and that? No. He was playing against majority of your current squad now, where he was still with Celtic, and he'd beat them as well. So, do you know what I mean? People thinking Rangers are going to have this revolutionary season because they're raiding the Championship and they've bought a player for Serie A who scored about 4 goals in 10 years. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you are smoking, but it must be pretty fucking strong to think that you're going to go toe-to-toe with Brendan and his big, lovely, shiny white teeth and his Gucci belt, because he's here to bend you over his knee and give you a bit of a spanking. Because, at the end of the day, that's one of the things that endeared us most to Brendan as well, is they had just came up from the Championship at their, I think, second attempt or third attempt of trying. But they thought that they were here to, take over and to win and to beat us. And he just put them back in the wee box and kicked them under the bed again. Do you know what I mean? And I think the same thing's going to happen again. He's already went head-to-head with the mastermind that is Michael Beale when Steven Gerrard got the job. So he's proven he can do it before, and he'll do it again with, more finances and better players. Because if you were to compare the two sides, I think pound for pound or player for player, the team that Ange has assembled, you could say, is better on paper and are maybe, individually better players than what Brendan had, because he still had your likes of Scott Brown, Michael Lustig, who are reaching the end of their cycle. So I think it's very, very positive to move forward. And, I'm seeing threads from the follow forums and that. And look, they can come out with all the fake bravado that they want, right? Your McSoonessys and other wallopers like that who are on Twitter. But they're shitting themselves. They are quaking in their little boots about Brendan coming back. And see that today, that post that came out at 12 o'clock, bang on the button today, that will have sent shivers up their spine.
Yeah, I agree, Stevo. There's a lot of PTSD from Brendan's first term, and I think you can see it.
Yeah.
I look at what they cling to for this to be a negative, and I find quite often one of the main points they go to is, how gullible must you guys be? How tragic is it that you want him back, though? I'm like, hardly forming an argument about the football side of things, though, is it? Don't you worry about us changing our tune. What's your take on him coming back as a manager? And if you don't want to focus on that, that tells me we're all in agreement. The best manager in Scotland is at Celtic Football Club right now, in situ. The other concern, the other hope that I should say that they cling to, not concern, the other hope that they cling to is this incredible Ryan Jack deflected goal that went through Bruni's legs and gave them their first win in 3 years against us. They went on that season to concede a third treble in a row to Celtic. They slag off Neil Lennon. Well, it was Neil Lennon who actually got that team over the line. If we were in such disarray, how the fuck did, if Brendan Rodgers was quaking in his boots and then you want to say Lennon's a shite manager, well, they all dealt with you. There was more defeats for them to come down the road as well. And I look at that and go, if that's what you're clinging to, one win, I would expect over a few year period there to be the odd win for them at home. Again, so I think this is going to be something to expect. You can't just expect 100% domination. But when I look at the crumbs of comfort that they're giving themselves, Stevo, you have to laugh a wee bit. And I think we can all be in unison and say they are, as Connor would like to say, shitting themselves a wee bit.
Aye, I've seen a lot of that from Rangers fans and stuff. And then you also do see some of the ones that slip through the net from their forums and chats and all that, where they're basically saying what we all know. But the bravado is, at large out there at the moment. And there's this notion of he's already played against Rodgers, he knows him, he'll work him out quicker. I think that's complete and utter nonsense. And, it goes without saying, if you believe, whether you're Rangers players, manager, board or fans, if you believe Brendan Rodgers returning to Celtic benefits anybody other than Celtic, then you need to have a word with yourself. You are absolutely in cloud cuckoo land, because this is not, as there some of them are saying, this is great for Rangers. This is terrible for Rangers. This is quite frankly the worst appointment that could have happened for them. And it all comes back to, as he says, one, serial winner when he was there before, two, now being tooled up, or at least we're told, tooled up with adequate resources to go beyond what he had. Because let's look at some of the signs that we got. All right, Edward and, maybe like Encham cost a fair bit of money, but everything else around it wasn't massive amounts of money. Let's be totally frank here. But with 35 million, that can be broke down into many ways. With an already strong squad, that could be 4 top quality players, it could be 5 players. There's so many variations of how you can shift that about, because I don't think we need huge surgery on the squad. So I'd expect it to be between 4 and maybe 5 players. And if that's the kind of money we look to spend, then that's going to be a higher quality. And if they thought Ange was lucky, then, well, Rodgers is going to be very lucky, because he's going to be given proper resourcing, it would appear. But no, they'll cling on to these kind of results. And as you rightly said, there's this notion that they played against absolute nobodies. A large bulk of their players were still in situ and continued to be there after Rodgers went. And as he says, they laugh at Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon, let's be honest, is not as accomplished a manager as Rodgers. Done better in Europe, yes, but in terms of if you just ask the average person, he isn't. So if he could take the Rodgers team and run with the ball with a lesser manager and still get tanked, then what does that say about them? And what does that say about Beale? They need to get an element of reality. There's one thing that I'm interested in, and I don't know if he's picked up on it, was when it's more about how Rodgers is going to approach things. One of his interviews, he says, talking about coming to Celtic in the first instance, and he says about how it was a challenge, right, to pick up Celtic, and he says, in a quote, because Rangers were close and they were coming back up. Now, in my opinion, Rangers were never close that first season. Let's get real, Brendan. Do you know what I mean? So,
is it because of the win in the semi? Do you think that's what he's referring to?
You say that, they're close. They absolutely squaffed a win in penalties. They were not actually close. They weren't ever close. But he used that term and said, because they were close, and it was a challenge. And much like the now, I think he picked up a far better situation than he's maybe making out. But he's picked up a exceptionally better situation than he has now. So I wonder what his take are on where Rangers are at this moment in time. If he thought back then that was them getting close. But so if he comes in with that sort of drive, then that's going to be frightening. And they need to be wary of that, because this is a man that's coming back to prove some wrongs and change opinions. And that's a very dangerous combination.
It is a very dangerous combination. It's an irresistible one as well. Let's look at it from the optics as well, corner of it's blockbuster. Whether folk are on board or not, and I think the vast majority are. I feel that this is one of those moments in time that we'll remember for the rest of our Celtic supporting lives. Brendan Rodgers back at Celtic. Who'd have thunk it? No one would have thought that this was going to happen. And now we find ourselves in a place where one of the managers who gave us our best era, or one of our best eras in recent living times, certainly since Martin was there. I mean, this guy did an invincible treble season, unbeaten domestically. He went on to 69 domestic games unbeaten at one point. I mean, to get this guy again after another successful stint in the world's best league, I think is just unimaginable. I think it's given the supporters that sort of, I don't want to say fairy tales, a wee bit deep, but I think like you've got to have wee moments sometimes as a supporter where we can just go, what the fuck? How's that happened? Do you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes, and I do take a lot of Stevo's points on board, and I try to be measured and balanced as well, but sometimes you can always become conditioned into always looking at Celtic as the business, the PLC, as opposed to, Celtic, the fairy tale story. And we need to keep writing chapters in that fairy tale story that Celtic have had. And I think getting Brendan back was so unimaginable, apart from me 9 months ago. But it was so unimaginable that you just, for it now to be in a situation where I was buzzing for this summer, mate. Buzzing for the summer with Ange at the helm, because I felt there will be a next level of investment made, and we're going to see what he's like in the Champions League season 2. Albeit, I think he did underwhelm in Europe, and if you want to put scrutiny on European records, put some scrutiny on Ange's as well, and you might not come out singing and dancing about him. Again, I I don't necessarily subscribe to that argument. I'm just saying for a balance. But now this summer, I think if possible, I'm more excited now, mate. I'm more excited this time, Connor, that it's Brendan at the helm, with all the same things that we were optimistic about still being in place. That same team's still there right now. All those assets are still there. All those players we know can go to another level are all still in situ. And we know there's money in the bank. And we all kind of deep down thought this summer we might kick on a wee bit. Anyway, I think the fact that Brendan's came back tells us we've told him we're going to kick on this summer. Otherwise, why would you do it? It'd be a hiding to nothing. And I just feel this summer's excitement level has went up another couple of notches, believe it or not. And if you told me the one position we could potentially be doing an upgrade on this summer would be manager's position, I wouldn't have wanted it, nor would I have thought it possible. Yet both have.
Yeah, it's really surreal. It's almost a bit like a fever dream going on that now. You would never have believed it if a year ago someone had said to me, "Oh, Andrew's going to leave for Tottenham and Brendan's coming back and he's getting the full back on the board and he's going to make a serious attempt at taking Celtic to the next level," I would have thought you'd had one too many disco biscuits. So It's really a good positive place to be in, and I really want Brendan to come back in and pick up from where he left off and take it to this new place and just absolutely tank it domestically, be successful and hopefully help us reach that next step in terms of European football and put Celtic back on the stage and the pedestal where we all believe it should be as one of the big dogs in European football. Because Brendan's the only manager, right, throughout my entire Celtic supporting life. Obviously, I couldn't really remember much of Martin's time. I was quite young then. But he's the only manager in my Celtic supporting life where any game against Rangers, any game at all, I had no fear, not an ounce of it. And even since we've had Ange and Lenny, under all Gordon Strachan, all these different managers, I still had that fear. I still had that primal thing deep inside my chest. I'm like, anything could happen here. But when Brendan was at the helm and when Brendan was all guns blazing, and we knew it was a predestined result. We knew it was going to happen. They're going to be in the end of hiding. Do you know what I mean? And that, obviously, that's not what it's about. It's about much more than that. And that's what Brendan's going to be thinking about. It's not just about the league. It's not just about domestic success. It's not just about beating Rangers for the umpteenth time in the past few years. It's about taking this club to its rightful place again. And I think we can all agree that will be, when it happens, or if it happens, will be, just something incredibly, emotional, and we'll feel, that no matter what happens with him after that, if he does accomplish this thing that we all think he can do, that he can walk off into the sunset and, be a Celtic legend after righting all the wrongs that he had when he was here his first time round.
Absolutely. Well, Stevo, the excitement levels are here. The announcement is confirmed. Next up is the presser.
Yeah.
What do you see him doing in this opening presser? How does he approach it? And I think, again, it's popcorn either way. Will he go down that deep dive into the emotional pool? Will he have maybe just refrain a wee bit from that? Will he apologise, Stevo, for the way he left before? And I'm not asking what you want. Mm-hmm. I'm asking you how you envisage him styling this out. As I've mentioned on here a few times before, I'm sure he's got a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
So if there's one guy that will be able to handle this situation, it's him. How do you think he approaches this?
I don't expect a direct apologies per se. I think he'll address a version of an apology, if you will, in a sort of roundabout way. I fully expect it to be very emotionally based, but also, cast in a almost put yourself in this position type of thing, where he said in previous interviews, I was asked a question with a very short period of time to make an answer, and I made an answer to leave based on X, Y, and Z. So I think he'll go maybe around that route and say, and I understand how that would make fans feel we're invested, and believe me, it was a hard decision for me, because as I've said, I'm a fan, but sometimes you need to, go with your head rather than your heart. I think that's the way it'll pan out for him. where he'll pay way mention to understanding how fans feel, understand why fans feel a certain way towards him, and it'll also maybe cast a wee bit on how that decision affected him and how he felt after he left, and then bring it back round with, as I say, he's talking about alignment of visions and the club selling him this and wanting to push on and big up that side of the advice back. Yep. And then, as I say, tie a big bow on it with, something along the lines of, all I'm asking for is fans to get behind the team and play it that way. So I think it'll be very, very coy.
I agree with that.
It'll be very coy. It'll be very well structured. No matter what folks say about him, he speaks very, very well. He presents very professionally, and his press conferences, at least for me, and I'm not comparing apples to oranges with managers, near the end I found Ange's a bit tedious. I kind of didn't enjoy watching them. They were a bit like, I'm fucked off, I don't want to be here. And it became a wee bit too sort of like Gordon Stratton with more of a mood. Very well professionally spoke, very direct, but it became wearing. Whereas I could watch a Rodgers because he's got both sides. He's got that spin side, he's got that direct side, but he also goes into more detail and he talks about what's going on and stuff. And I want that from my manager. I don't want him to just give it, we're concentrating on the game, mate. So I think no matter what he says, one thing is for sure, he's on to hiding to nothing, because there'll still be loads of fans that don't care for what he says. But I think he'll say enough that will give a snapshot into how he's feeling and why he's back and what his intentions are. And he'll do it in a very diplomatic way that kind of lays mention of sorts to an apology without actually saying it.
Totally agree with that. On that note, that has been over an hour. We might come back tonight. You never know. I want to check out the mood of the support as well, do a wee bit of Brendan-esque work myself, gauge the supporter mood. We could come back tonight. I'm off all day anyway, so fuck it. But yes, it has been absolutely a blockbuster day at Celtic. Brendan Rodgers is the new manager. He has signed a 3-year deal. Brendan is back, baby. I believe that was your quote earlier on, Connor. We'll roll with that. See you, sir.
Bye.